So I'm starting API-led development. We design APIs. And I provide you one, small assignment. Okay. So for that, we need to implement that assignment. So we develop the API, develop by implement. Okay. Today I provide assignment so that you go through that one day, 1 week it takes the go through that requirements and understand the requirements. Okay. And next week onwards, next means okay. Next to continuously to take some time, 3 to 4 days time to understand the requirements. Okay. Meanwhile, we work on the design part. So we develop the APIs, and next we deploy the APIs, deploy to cloud hub and on-prem. Next we manage the APIs. Manage instance, we do security and other policies, update policies, right? So, and we enhance the APIs. Enhance means we apply the best practices, industry best practices on the APIs, so that that has rules and regulations to follow when developing the APIs, right? So this is one of the most important part in MuleSoft. Your project starts with the actual design the API. Okay, but in our course, I started the concepts with the code development. As it is the development course, you need to understand how the Mule process the messages on the stuff. But actually, we need to start design the APIs. That API we're going to implement. Okay, we start with the implementation part. Now we go back to go back and start the design part. How to design the APIs, right? So let me share one kind of mind map. What things we're going to discuss. So we need to have idea of the REST concepts to design the API. So you guys have idea of RESTful concepts? What is REST? REST concepts, because we're going to design the RESTful APIs. Yeah, Anand, do you have any REST experience?
Yes, I should develop the .NET Core REST API.
Yeah, you know about resources, all these things, the terminology, right? Resources.
Yes.
Yeah. Satish, do you have any experience in REST?
No, Prasad, not much.
No. Okay. Okay. I will brush up you on the REST. Sunil, you got any experience with RESTful APIs? Anytime you
Not
look at it?
developing them, but I've written
But you know
clients
the concept,
to.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we start with the RESTful APIs introduction and about the REST terminology, and we start implementing that in a developing a RAML, right? RAML, these are all called enhancement. This will say after deploying, we see how to implement resource types, all the stuff. Okay, this is a core RAML development. We see the RAML and we apply the policies. And here in this slide, I didn't include the deployment. The deployment is a different kind of activity. Okay, but our journey, we do deployment also comes into picture, right? So when designing the APIs, there are different kinds of APIs are there. We discuss the architecture concepts also and APIs. Now start with the actual REST terminology, right? Now think what you are going to do actually. What is your purpose? What kind of activity? What kind of application you're going to develop, right? So you got some requirements. Actually, your business requirements team, your BA team gathers the requirements from the clients, right? So you drop all the requirements in a software requirements document, SRS, or integration requirements in a such document, right? So this business analyst, they analyze these requirements and they prepare the document. So that is given to your development team. So using that, we need to design our systems and we need to implement our systems, right? Okay. So as of now, no implementation in place, no working model in place. Now we start and we were building the working model, right? Okay. Example, you are going to designing a messaging system. Messaging system kind of Facebook kind of application you're going to develop. Okay. So we're going to develop a Facebook kind of application, right? So this is the requirements. The requirement says that okay, the customers of the application need to create a messages, right? They have to create a messages, and they can get all the messages, created messages. If they want, they can all the create messages. So message, they can create a message, and they can retrieve a message. If they want, they need to update a message, whatever the message they want to update, right? And they need to delete the message, right? So these are the features we need to provide to the customer. So whatever you develop a new Facebook, using that the customers of Facebook can create a messages, all the activities they can able to do that. Okay, and for a message they need to create a comment. They can able to give a comment, right? And they can able to give the comment, and they can able to upgrade the comment. Same things. So they create the comment, and same on the comment also. They can able to create, retrieve, update, and delete. Right. So your application provides this facility. So using this application, the customers can create messages, and for that messages they can give a comment and they can give a likes. Example. Okay. So this is your application. This application requirement say that okay, customer using your system, customers need to create messages, and customer can retrieve messages. Customer can retrieve a specific message. Okay, right? And customer can update a message, delete a message, and customer can need to give a comment to the message, and we need to get all the comments for a specific message, and we need to delete a comment. All these features provided by your application. So this is your requirement. For that requirement, how to design the RESTful application, REST application. Okay. Now, in the REST application, we start with the identification of resources. First, we need to identify resources. Then, what is resource? Yeah. Anybody have any idea of the resource? What is the resource?
It could probably be a database or somewhere where we are reading it from.
You are going an application, right? So in the application, you need to identify the resources.
Okay.
In the database, that is all resources. There was a different perspective. Okay. Now in these requirements, you need to identify resources.
Okay.
This is different terminology.
Then
okay.
it could be the method which we took. Sorry, go ahead.
So sorry, I didn't get the question. Resources for hosting the application or just designing the API?
Yeah. In the API, you are going to develop API, right? In the API, first we need to identify the resource, and we need to build the API around that resource. Okay.
Okay.
So for this particular API that I'm going to design, right? Then what is the resources in this application for this API? Okay.
Okay.
So any guess what you can see, what you call a resource in this application, in this API?
Facebook. Huh?
Yeah, Facebook is an entire application.
Okay.
So using that application, which
Message.
item you're going to create or delete or retrieving, that thing we call a resource. Okay. So in this terminology, we are going to create a message, right? So I call one of the resource for this API the message resource. Correct? Using this API, we can creating a messages, we're deleting messages, dealing with the messages. So I call message a resource. And we are creating comments to the message. So comment is also a resource. Right? So in this API, I identify two resources, message resource and the comment resource, that we can indicate like slash and resource name. So this is called a resource for this API. So in this API, I'm creating comments and creating messages, right? Okay, creating, deleting, all this kind of operations I'm doing on this kind of entities. So these called a resource. For example, if you are developing an employee application, or else you are developing a banking application. Okay, so banking application, a customers walk into bank and he want to create an account, right? Customer want to create an account in the bank, and customer sometimes customer want to customer changes address, he want to update his account. Our customer leaves the bank, he no longer want to account in the bank, he want to close the account, right? So in this scenario, what kind of features this application need to give? Application need to give a feature like create a new account, right? And you want to see the customer want to see his account, we need to get the account details, get the account, and customer want to update anything in the account, update account, right? And customer no longer want his account, he can delete the account. So using this application, these kind of operations customer can do, right? So in this scenario, in this perspective, the resource is account, because all operations we are doing around the account, right? For this application, the resource is account. Yeah, got it? So to which business entity you are doing such create, upgrade, delete operations, that entity I call as a resource in a REST terminology. Hope is clear, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Any questions on this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Next. Okay. So I want to create an Facebook kind of application. Okay. For that, I identify the resources. I have two resources, right? Okay. Then how the customer is going to create that resource? So usually the request, maybe you will develop some front-end application in a .NET or some other some UI Python or somewhere. So in the front-end application, the GUI it looks like this, right? So some customer message, whatever message you want to post, message, and type the message and submit the message. Maybe okay, this is your. So from this UI send the message, then this message is sent to your API. Your API receives that message. This is the API. The API is going to develop, right? So that receives the message whatever customer typed over here. Right? Then that message you are going to create in a system. Maybe you take that message and store that in a backend database table. You create a table in the database to store that table, right? That content table, right? Okay. So using the web browser, web or web application, customer will submit this message that received to your API. That API will store that message to database. This is cycle, right? Then as a web, it uses HTTP protocol, right? HTTP protocol used between your client and your API. Got it? So using HTTP protocol, there are few methods that define HTTP protocol. The methods are post method, get method, right? Post get, one sec. Put, delete, patch. These are some frequent used methods. So using these methods, your client will send this message to API using any of these methods, right? Okay, so these all we saw, right? We tested so many, we developed deploy the mule flows and tested, right? Sometimes we want to send a payload, we use a post method. No, we don't want to, any posting any payload, we use a get method, right? From the postman. So when your client is sending some message, you will use the post method, right? Then only we can able to receive that message. Or else you need to send a query parameters like that, data parameters like that, right? Okay. In query parameters and data parameters, there is a limitation in the message. You can't send, some limitation is there, 180 KB or something like that. But the more than that, your system can't accept. Okay. But a message is a longer message, your system can't accept that message. So it has to send via body only. Okay. Via body only send, then we need to use the post method. Right. So using post method, your API receives a message from your client. Right. If client want to see his messages, so there is one more UI may be there. Then there is a button called get messages, get my messages. So then it will request to reaches your API. What your API do is API goes to database and get all the messages, collect the messages and response give to your client, so that all the message is spread in a table over here. Okay. So in that case, where customer is not posting anything to your API, customer just want to retrieve the message from your backend, right? So for that, use the get method. Is that clear, everybody? Following? Satish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So means what I'm trying to say is what kind of interaction there between the customer and the API. Okay, what kind of HTTP methods used by customer when you want to retrieve the information or when you want to post information, right? So as the API, what kind of features we are providing to customer? Customer can create a new messages. Customer can get all the existing messages. Customer can update a message. Customer can delete a message. So by using the web page, customer is sending his messages. So our API receives that message based on the customer interaction. So if customer want to create a message, our API receives in the post method. Customer want to retrieve all the existing messages, our API receives that request in a get method. Right? If customer want to update the message, our API receives in a put method. If customer want to delete the message, our API receives at a delete method. Right? Here the link between HTTP methods and our API. Right? So based on this, MuleSoft developed one kind of design specification called RAML, RESTful API Modeling Language. Okay. So this explains how how we design a resource and how to associate a method to resource. All these things we can define, we will explain in the RAML. By seeing RAML, you can understand that okay, this API provides these services, and this input we need to send, and this output we get something. All the information we get using this RAML. Okay. So let me quickly design this simple this message API in the RAML. So hope you have account in any MuleSoft, right? So log into MuleSoft dashboard, anypoint.mulesoft.com. So here the design center is there. Design center you will use to create a design, API design, create a design new APIs, right? So start designing. So open the design center. Now I'm creating a new API. For that, create new. These are all existing APIs. I'll show you a little later. Okay, these are, I want to create a new API. Right? New API specification. I have to give the API name. I am giving as a message API. Let's get. So it opens a page where you can see, right? You can see in the left hand side, you can see all the files in this API. Okay. As of now, one file, message API.raml, and in the middle is the page is open. This is a it's API file, right? And in the down, it gives some help. We can use these tips and we can develop the API. I can show you that one. On the extreme right hand side, it shows all the resources we created, and we can open some marking service and we can test this API. Okay, all this testing kind of stuff, all this in the extreme right hand side. Okay, so that's what your API page is divided. This span is divided. Now, the two kinds of APIs, not API, API is only one kind. Two kind of API documents we can develop. One is the API specification document. API spec document. This is actual API specification. Specification document. Okay, so this API contains something like your own data types, and examples. I will explain the resource types, all those types. Resource types, rights, or different kinds of other kinds of API documents also there. Okay. So data types in sense, in your in this example, there may be a message type. You can define a message. What is the message looks like, and a comment type. You can define your own data type for that. Okay. So those comes a data type. An example how the comment look like, how the message look, they come to the example. So what we can do is you can bundle all these things and you can create something called a fragment, API fragment. Yeah. So API specification requires this information, how the message looks like, how the message example look like, all the stuff. Okay, what we can do, we can create a section with all this stuff called fragments. So as of now, I don't want to touch all this and confuse you. I create a simple specification. Slowly we can create a fragment, and I will understand. This is last section. This is called enhancement of your API. Okay. Now I created some vague API, and afterwards, if you use a fragment, you can understand what is the use of developing API in a standard manner. Okay, as we have baby steps with just a simple API. Now, in the API specification document, if you see the API spec document over here, so we are going to develop API over here. Now we are going to develop API in a language called API, RESTful API modeling language, RAML. For that entire RAML Bible is over here. You can go raml.org, raml.org, and here you can find the entire documentation of RAML. Learn RAML 1.0 spec. At initial times, if you see this RAML, this everything looks little complex. After finishing our classes, we can go through this document, so you can able to understand this document. Okay. Now, but this is the complete documentation of the RAML, and the standard documentation for RAML. Everything is covered in this document. Okay. So there is some certification course in the MuleSoft API designer, API design expert, something like that. So for that, if you prepare this single page, you can able to clear certification easily. Okay. So this page is that much important. Right? So now coming to our this section, API specification section. So we're going to develop a RAML for this messaging requirement. So what requirements I told? Using this API, the customer will create an message. Customer can retrieve all the messages. Customer can retrieve a specific message. Customer can update a message. Customer can delete a message. Customer can create a comment to the message. Customer can update a comment. All those things we can do using this API. Okay. So now remember, the system is not ready. Still with the design phase only. Okay. But we are assuming that when the system is ready, what kind of facilities we are going to provide to the customer. Based on that, we are developing API. Okay. Now, coming to this API editor, API designer. What is first step I told? First step is we need to identify resources. So for my application, for messaging application, I'm creating messages, deleting messages. So message is a core business entity. So that is a resource, right? So that resource it indicates like this /message. So this is my resource. I want to create the resource. So you want to create the resource. If you click on this, right, the cursor will come from second line, and whatever things you're defining for the resource, it should be inside this one. Inside this one, let it space. You have to give all the things you mentioned inside this one. This follows a thing called YAML. YAML we see when developing property files, right? Hierarchy structure. This is the parent, and whatever things you're describing that parent, you need to mention little inside that parent. Okay, so that applies to the parent. It follows the YAML structure. So I'm creating a message over here. To create a message, what is a method? How the customer, client can send that the message to the API. Guys, what is the method? What is HTTP method? Suitable method to create a message? Anybody? Post. Excellent.
Post.
So methods are defined over here. You need to select the post, right? Post method. By using post, the customer can send a message to the API so that we can able to store that message from to the backend in the implementation. While implementation stage, we need to do that activity. Okay. Now, what mentioned that okay, message by post we're creating a message. Now, post as a body, right? And in which format the customer is sending the message to the API. Here, two formats are given: API, XML, and JSON. I'm choosing the JSON. Okay. And you want to give how the message looks like. That example of the message you can give over here. For example, maybe this is a message, simple example message to create. Means this message sent by the customer to create this message at the backend. Now, post is done. Now I want to, give facility to customer to retrieve all the messages that he created earlier. Okay. For that, to retrieve the messages, see, you need to go over here to the method line. I'm creating one more facility to the customer. The facility is customer want to retrieve the messages. So for that, what is a suitable method to retrieve the messages? Yeah, guys. What suitable method?
Get.
Exactly. Excellent. Get. So get means if client issues get to the API, right? API sends a response back to client. So that get doesn't have any body. So body for a get is not valid thing, right? For post get, the body is there. For get, responses are there. Get responses. And what kind of response API sending back to client? First we take happy path. Assume that we didn't get any error. So API sending success response back to client. The success status code is 200 status codes. So I'm saying 200. 200 means successfully the API sending response back to client. So that response has a body, right? And that body is of JSON, right? And I'm sending that response. Example, getting some example response. So in the response, what get will return is get will return all the responses in the system. Okay, for that particular client. So it returns array of messages. So I'm putting an array. Get is returns an array. So once client posts a message, what happens? We store that message to the backend database or some backend store. So once we post that message backend store, we get some message ID generated, right? So in the get, we send that message along with the message ID. Okay, what message is created in the backend, right? And get means returns all the message, all the existing messages, so it returns an array of messages. Okay, got it. And now you want, maybe there are 10 messages created in your system. 10 times send different clients sent, or one time, one client send is 10, one client created 10 messages. There are 10 messages created on the backend system. Okay. So now you want to see the second message. You want to see the second message. So how the REST URL you send is, you design REST URL is, what I meant to say is, one moment. So client may be Postman or any application. Okay. Client application. This is your API. We develop the API, and assume we developed the API and we deployed the API. Okay, our API is working now. Assume like that. Okay. So this client sends 10 messages. So what your API do? In API, we design some post method, right? Post. And once you develop this this API, in the backend, what happens is for the post associated post method, the flow will be created. Okay, for each method, for get, a flow will be created in your backend. Okay, in your application. Okay. So for a post, a flow will be created. The event source receives this message, and we created one database. This database insert component, and that will insert to your database table. I'm talking about the implementation part. Okay, this is going to happen, right? When client posts, each time we take that message and post also create the 4 records. If we send 4 messages, we create the 4 records, right? So that not happening. Now, customer client want to see the second message. Okay, customer want to see the second message. First thing is how the message posts client to the API. So we post what is, we send the message resource name. So maybe your API running on HTTP localhost 1881. In this machine, your API is running. So the API, the client uses which URL is to post this message, HTTP localhost 8081, and next the resource comes. So message resource, right? Message. So for this URL, you use the post method, then you can send this message to your API. So API receives that message when uses this kind of UPI, your machine identification and the resource name. Based on resource, your post will take that, your flow will involve. Okay. So when you want to see the second resource, then the URL looks like this: HTTP localhost 8081/message/2, right? So on this URL, if you apply the get message, get method, right? On this URL, if you get method, what it will retrieve? It retrieves the second record. What is second message, and it returns only the second message we created. Okay. So on this URL, for suppose HTTP method localhost message, on this URL, if I use a get method, what happens? Anybody can tell? Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Accept it because we already defined it as a post method in services.
Yeah. Nishan, come again, please.
So we already defined it as a post service, right? In the
Right. Yeah.
post method,
Yeah.
right? In services. So whenever you use the wrong method, it's gonna throw an error.
No, actually, for that, for get method also, you provide an implementation over here. So you provide implementation over here for get also. For post also provide implementation, get also provide implementation. For get, what kind of implementation we provide? Like I said, the same URL, the client, the client will send a message to our API. If you use a post, in the body will send the message content, right? What a message content, right? Okay. So that our flow receives that message and creates the record in the database. Is that clear? Everybody? Yeah. Client application want to create a message on the backend using our API. So client application uses this URL HTTP, message as in the as a part in the URL, and use a post method, and the body it send the message, so that our flow receives that body and create a message on the backend. Okay, right? And the same method, sorry, same URL. If client application uses a get method, not a post method, right? Using same URL, but client application using the get method. If you use the get method, the client application doesn't send anything in the body. Body is empty, right? So what is the intention is client want to retrieve all the existing messages in the system. That is intention. Okay. So for get also there is an backend implementation is there. We implement that one. In that implementation, what we do is we go to the database using the select component. We retrieve all the records, right? And that responds into client. So client will receive all the record list, array of records. So that is the difference. URL is same, but using the post method, client will create a new message on a backend. Use a get method, he receives all the record, all the existing records. All the records is a point. Yeah. Is it clear?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay. So now I don't want all the records. I want the second record that I created. I want the second record. Okay. So for that, how I need to send is dot to means second record. If you use a get method on this second record, so what you know, I understand. Okay, is client is asking the second record, and we will query the database with second record and sends only that record back to client. The second record, it returns only one record. Whereas in this URL, if you use a get method, client retrieves all the records and send back to client as a collection of records. Okay. So this way you need to design the URL. So on this URL, you can't use a post method. Post always using this URL only. Okay. This URL only to retrieve the records and you update the record using a put method and you can delete the record. These methods can be used on this URL. Okay. Put means put also have body. Put means you can send some body in this put, the new message. Okay. What happens is you use the put and you send the body. In the back end, there is one more flow for put. That flow will receive this message, right? And that flow takes the message what you are sending in the put, that updates that message in the database with the existing message. Removes the existing message and the put this message. Put always to update the existing, resource. Okay. So here important thing is you want to retrieve a message, any specific message, you will pass that like this. Okay, resource slash, you will to pass that message ID. Okay, this is called message ID. Now, coming to our design over here, we define two methods. One is a post method and the get method. Post is for creating a new message in a system, and get for retrieving all the existing messages. Therefore, this array, right? All the existing message in system. Now I want to retrieve a specific message, not all the messages. Okay. If you want to, client want to send a specific message, then client has to send that message what you want to, that you want to see, message slash the 2 number. If you send 3, the client receives the third message. If you client 4, client receives the fourth message, right? So that number has to send by the client. So what we need to define a sub resource over here in the RAML. The RAML, you need to create a sub resource. So come over here. You want to create one more resource. This is here.
Srinu, I need to leave in 5 minutes.
Okay, no problem. Here I'm creating one more sub resource called slash message ID. little space. So you can able to see right here, message/message ID that you are putting in a curly braces, right? What the meaning of curly braces is this message ID value is sent by the client when invoking the API. Okay, this example, message and messages/2, 3, whatever number dynamically send that number. So to capture that dynamic number, we need to view in this manner also, messages/message ID. So in this message ID, whatever the message ID the client sent, that that gives to message ID. And this is sub resource. See, therefore that message also is under the resource. Not you can't put this, could be under resource, right? And you want to retrieve the messages. You want to retrieve the specific message ID. Then what method we need to use to retrieve the message? Use a get method, right? Get method. Get same responses body and 200 and sorry 200 and dash body. Can you see over here? Body. Example. Sorry, I will give you the what kind of body you're sending. And tomorrow you're fine, right? Tomorrow we can spend one more time, right?
Yeah, tomorrow is fine, Steno, for me. Because tomorrow is
Okay,
Saturday, right? Yeah, I don't have any issues.
Yeah. So I will close this with this resource. Okay.
Okay.
Example. I need not type. Actual typing is very bad. Example and slides. Okay. So this is simple RAML document, right? So tomorrow we discuss entire RAML document. So this RAML document, there are three methods. There are two resources are there. This is main resource. This is a message class, message ID for sub resource. There are two methods defined for main resource. One is the post method to create a new resource in the system. Get method to retrieve all the existing messages from the system, right? Here get method to retrieve a specific message from the system, right? So these three defined over here. Got it? So tomorrow we expand this whole API, right? And next we see the further steps. Okay. And I can share you one book, one good book. Please go to that book if you have any time. Okay. I'm sharing this. There is some book called Unrestrictable URLs. So that gives a good idea on the RESTful concepts. Okay. After session, I will share along with the session document, session recording. All right. So tomorrow at same time, 5 o'clock. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Okay, Chiro, take care. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.